Madam Clerk, will you give us a roll call?
Tom Duffy,
Here.
John Righeimer,
Here.
Stacy Hessel, Brian Bissonette, Chris Rusk. You have a quorum.
Yeah. Okay, let's please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which stands one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, they want to cover the certification for the open meeting, Madam Clerk?
This meeting has been noticed to the public and media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Okay, thank you. And the meeting agenda has been set. Anyone have any additions or subtractions from the agenda? If not, let's move on then to public comments. Linda, you've submitted yours. You're on.
Linda Zilmer, resident of the Village of Birchwood, property owner in Edgewater, and a big supporter and advocate for UW Extension. I'm so glad to see this document that's going to be looked at on your agenda item number 9, the county partnership guidance. Wish that had been around years ago, and hopefully that it's maintained, especially when there's board turnover, so people understand what role it is that extension plays in our communities. It's an under-recognized and underutilized resource that consists not just of our local agents, but specialists and experts from across the state and in the universities. One example of where I think extension can play a bigger role is in public safety committee. Public health or health and human services representatives came and spoke about a proposed budget for the opioid settlement. And they named certain other entities like the schools and churches in Sawyer County as far as their awareness and outreach program that they want to do. They feel that folks don't really understand the extent and the situation with our crisis here in the county. Extension reaches people across all age groups. Extension's involved with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is SNAP. They're involved with 4-H. In some counties, they help provide instruction in our jails. And they also reach an older audience, starting with the pandemic. The Strong Bodies program, that is a strength building and now cardio program that is being done via Zoom, reaches people across many counties in our region. And if you look at the names of the people who participate on it, they also have a strong network of people that they can reach out to. And as part of the Strong Bodies programs, they provide nutrition education and other health and mental well-being education. So extension, besides all this other stuff that they do that they don't get enough chance to talk about, they have a role in other things that are very critical to the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Anyone else wants to address the board? Anybody on? No. Okay, let's go then to the approval of the minutes from last month. Can we have a motion to approve? Okay.
Make a motion.
A second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Very well, it's carried. Let's go to the Sawyer County Fair.
All right, thanks. So I'm not the official representative of the Sawyer County Fair, but I'll try to work here. I know that the fair is coming up in 2 weeks. It is, the dates on that are the 17th through the 19th. And they've been doing a lot of renovations at the fairgrounds, just trying to make it more pleasant for viewing the activities on the lower part of the fair. So that's all I have. Could you tell me who the fair representative is? Maybe we could get a report from them. I know the president is Rick Christian and he tries to get here, but we do have a fair as a board representative that I'm not sure if they have been attending meetings or not. That's okay. I think it's Ron Kinsley, but I just wanted to.
So anyway,
That's all I have, unless you have questions that I can't answer.
okay, thank you. Let's move on then to the University of Wisconsin. Lori. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. So I wanted to talk about the Clean Sweep program that's coming up. Will be on September 13th at the fairgrounds from 2 to 6, I think. That's what the schedule says. So usually we have like 174 cars, and we already get phone calls starting generally in May or April about when the schedule is or where to dispose of certain stuff. People are very appreciative at the program usually that the county provides and sponsors. Health and Human Services will be there to also assist with sharps collection. We just confirmed on Friday with Julie that they will have some funds to cover the sharps collection this year. Last year, they collected around 70 pounds, which was a big assistance for the community. So we are going to get some advertisements out very soon to announce the dates and the schedule. And one more thing, usually people call and say, do I have to be a resident to bring this materials to the program in Surrey County? So people don't have to be residents. Usually they can cross the borders from neighboring counties and dispose of their stuff depending on which dates work for them. So sometimes maybe people from Surrey County can go and dispose their stuff in Minong or in other counties that is closer to where they live. And I think the program is very, very successful, usually every year. So we usually get things, and I'm passing the things to you. And a little bit about my programs. So I'm working with Town of Spider Lake that is currently doing surveys. It's a community assessment survey. We just launched the survey on, I think, Friday. So it was a process to develop the questionnaire, work with people from the community. Sarah, I don't remember her last name, but she is on the board of Town of Spider Lake. She is leading the process and partnered with UW Extension and Local Government Center, which is also UW Extension, a part of UW Extension with my colleague who came a couple of times, and we kind of went over the survey, the questionnaire, we worked. The survey has been put on Qualtrics and will be managed by us, by UW Extension, to provide the unbiased process to these surveys. And we will collect some manual surveys as well. That data will be entered, and then we will assess the data and give that information to Spider Lake. So it's going to take a while, but I think they're trying to get this, to get the surveys done by September 4, collect information, and then we will be processing. They're also targeting second homeowners. That's why the process was an expedite process, to target the second homeowners and kind of get their kind of sense of what they think about community. So, and then we're also partnering, I partner with UW Madison It's Center for Agriculture, CALS we call. They are applying for a proposal that will target students from underserved communities. Specifically in this proposal will be Native communities, and we establish a partnership with LCO University. 10 students during, I think, 1 year. It's a 5-year grant. They will be traveling to Madison for a week to learn how to do research in a lab. And then some of those students will also join me here in Extension to go through some leadership programs. We can develop programs together, teach, so they can kind of go into that process and sense what could be a community type of research programming. So that's another program. We will have an educational booth today at the Hayward Farmers Market. Extension was asked to provide educational information and education today because it's a National Day of Farmers Markets. And Extension will be there to talk about some recipes and share some of the new varieties of produce, let's say purple carrots, or we were kind of thinking how to make this interesting and how to help people kind of maybe do a tasting. I'm not sure, but Kevin Shasso will be there, and Foodwise Nutrition Education will be also provided to share the recipes. I am not sure if they will be cutting and cooking on the side. I don't know, but we will be there. Also, I was asked to teach grant writing tips on during Wisconsin Town Association. There were a lot of federal and state grants people received or are applying to get assistance, especially specifically for fire departments and transportation. So there were a lot of questions how to create the proposal, where to put the focus. And so I provided an educational assistance during that meeting. And I was asked to talk about it again. I don't know, maybe there will be a conference. I will have to share some of that information on the conference. And I was also asked to update the housing study. So I'm working with Matt Cures, who is from our Community Development Institute in UW Extension, and we will get something, a draft to you guys, hopefully in September. We're just going to update and add a few sections to the study, and I think some of those the numbers were outdated, and I think it needs more assessment analysis in terms. So we're going to work with Matt to provide that analysis to the data that is going to be put in there. So I think this is what I'm working on right now. So this is what I had. Thank you.
Good, thanks, Riga. Any questions in there?
Questions here from the fair if you want to ask.
Okay, I'll have Lori first, though. Then all right, Lori, do you want to add?
I have a few.
Thanks, Riga.
Gave Rick a heads up that you'll probably go back to him. So, all right. Okay, I have another handout for you for the literacy link. You may remember last month I reported that we were looking for some partners to do some of that. So it's based out of Ashland, and the coordinator there works with the jail to provide literacy for families. And so last month I talked about maybe partnering with Molly and for the Family Resource Center. So I'm going to give you that just so you get an update on what's happened over the past, the first 6 months of the year. I got that report on Friday, so I wanted to make sure it got to you. The other thing is that if Kevin were here, he would say, do not miss the Twilight Garden Tour at the Spooner Ag Station. It's coming up on the 24th from 4 to 7. So if you've not been there, it's a great place to learn a lot about. It's the teaching and display garden. And so there are specialists and different people that come and present information and provide a lot of education that night, as well as a lot of fun. So if you need a date, a cheap date, that's the place to be on the 24th. Also, I know that we updated our bulletin board downstairs where we're trying to put some other things like a chainsaw for women training that's going to be held up in Ashland, as well as some of the trainings that are held virtually throughout the state. So one of those things is a first aid mental health training that happens, as well as kind of preparing for the end of life. So those are some other things that happen throughout the state virtually. And so I want to make sure that you are aware of some of those too. So Lynn and I have been talking about the best place to put flyers so that people can understand what's happening. So that's one place. And then I'll make sure I get some other things too as we assess bulletin boards in the new spaces. So that's the updates. And then if you want to move, do we want to move to the partner
Sure.
thing too? So I will tell you that this is something that has been in the works for a while, and it's a kind of a living document. I was not aware that I needed to be sharing it. I thought that it was being shared from the Wisconsin Counties Association, or if you've been around with us for a while, there was this group called WEXA, and then they went through some changes. And so all of this information has been there, but it evidently had not been shared as widely with counties as we had hoped. So that's why I put it on the in the packet and wanted to make sure you had it. It's something going forward that I want to make sure that if there are new people coming to the committee, that they have that document to just kind of better explain what that relationship is. A couple things that I will just highlight for you, that it pretty clearly states what my role is as the area director. Again, you don't have any money on my position, but as a department head and a supervisor of your educators, my role. There's also the roles of extension employees that are listed in there. And then a little bit more too toward the end about the kind of the evaluation process, the extension oversight committee, and your role with providing input for our employees. So we are right in the middle. We do a 6-month check-in as well as an end of the year evaluation on all of our employees. We look at their plan of work. We look at the needs of the county. We look at all of that stuff. But if there is any point you want to give me kudos, celebration, I say celebrations or challenges that you're looking at with our educators, I hope you know my door is open to that, and I'm willing to touch base with you about that as well. And the other thing that I think is important to pull out of this document is the office support. And it's very minimal here in Sawyer County. It's something that we're working on trying to get a little bit more support. So I have put that in our budget. I know we're not necessarily talking too deeply about budgets today, but I have put it in our budget for a little bit more money for our support staff, as well as a possibility of an intern. So we'll see where all that goes, but I wanted to just be honest with you about what we're thinking about with that. Okay. Any questions about the document or anything that I can take back to kind of our team about concerns you have, or?
Any questions, anyone? No, thanks, Laurie.
Okay, I'm going to give you this, but then you can move back
Okay.
to the fair.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back now to the fair. Gentlemen, you want to come to the microphone?
Good morning, Rick Christian, Sawyer County Fair President. So far, we're less than 2 weeks away from the fair, and we've made a ton of upgrades this summer. We've added seating on the hillside. So far, we've done a 6-foot by 64-foot seating area with the deck. We're planning on building one more after the fair, adding our lighting at the bottom of the hill for our arena. We've replaced our handicap ramp going into exhibit hall, and then upgraded our horse arena, put more fill in, made it safer for the kids. We're hoping after the fair to add more horse stalls and just keep doing upgrades around there. I'm trying to just improve on the buildings for the kids and the experience at the fair.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Weather-wise, hopefully you're in charge of that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming. Good luck. Okay, let's go to Haver Lakes visitor, Sherry.
Good morning, Sherry Beckman. So last month we had to turn in our budget requests, and one of the questions is how do you keep track of what's working and what's not working? So I put together this key performance indicators. I think you've seen it in past years, and it just kind of gives us an idea of what's working, you know, or what's not working. So we can kind of go through that. I mean, we use visitors, we use money, you know, different, how much people are spending, things like that to keep us in line with, yeah, we know visitors are coming. So in the first column is 2021 and the second column is 2022. We don't get the numbers for 2023 until next year. So I'm just kind of going back a couple of years. I don't, like I said, I don't have the current stuff from this year yet, but anyway, so visitor spending is up. We keep track of the number of visitors that come into the information center, and that went up a little bit, you know, during COVID and all that, we went down. So it's good to see that people are still using us as a resource. The number of guides that we're distributing, we ran out in 2021 and we had to do a rerun. And then last year we did 75,000. This year we're going to do 80,000. We just keep running out of them. So we're just keep producing more. The number of downloads, this means they go onto our website and they actually want to download our vacation guide onto their computer. And that was 196,000 times people did that. Page views on the website, that went down a little bit. Facebook, we just continue to get new followers. Instagram, same thing. And then I put the different room tax that we've been receiving from the different townships. So you can kind of see that the Bass Lake went up. Of course, they didn't collect for the full year. That first year they did it. That's why that's a lot larger. Town of Hayward was up. Town of Hunter was, I would say, even, because that could just be collecting. Sometimes everybody doesn't pay on time, and that could just be something that simple, or somebody isn't renting out their place anymore that did in the past. And then the town of Round Lake just had their first year was in 2022. The return on investment, according to the Department of Tourism, is for every $8 you spend on advertising, or for every $1 you spend on advertising, $8 comes back to your community. And then traveler expenditures, we went over that earlier this year. That, you know, 95.9 million people are traveling and spending money in Sawyer County. And then I've got a couple links there if you're interested in seeing stuff. Well, you guys get the county sales tax distribution, but you can check that out if you're interested. And then kind of what times of the year they're coming to visit, and then why they're coming. 72% is still leisure. Lodging represents the largest expenditure for tourism. And then I've got the sales numbers, that link as well, if you want to look in there. Now, this last one about who's coming, and this is per arrival list. So Minnesota, 52% of people are coming from Minnesota, 31% from Wisconsin, 7 from Illinois, and then 2 from Iowa, which just stands out a little bit more than, and then the rest are all lumped together at 8%. And then these are some of the performing pages on our website, what people are looking at.
What's the total marketing expense? What does that
Oh,
include?
did I skip that? So that's what that's the money we have to spend on marketing. So in 2021, you know, because we collect money, we get money funding from the county, we get room tax money, and we get membership money. And we also have marketing partner money. So in 2021, we spent $245,000 on marketing. And then last year we spent $328,000.
I know we aren't through with 23, but you expect that to keep rising, the total marketing expense for 23? Or
So far, everything looks like it's coming in nicely.
It does. Okay.
First quarter, things came in nice. It's a kind of a slow process. I won't get second quarter until probably the middle of this month or the end of this month.
And then the room tax for Bass Lake is almost double in 22 from 21. Is that because they just started or?
Yeah, they did, and they didn't, yeah, that was the first year. Or no, they only had they started in the fall of the previous year. Their first year was 2021. So the full year for 2022 was almost 50,000.
Okay, good. Anybody have any questions?
Is that the same with Brown Lake? Why that's low? Because they started mid-year?
No, they started in January, but that was their first year. I'm anticipating that's gonna climb as they find more people who are renting. Because they're, trying to get a handle on all of that. So yeah, they'll definitely get higher than that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Sherry. Keep up the good work. Okay, let's move on to Northwest Regional Planning. Anybody here from Northwest Regional Planning? I have passed out to the board members a report from Northwest Regional Planning and showing what activity we had in Sawyer County. There's been 8 loans made. You guys can see that on their exhibit that's been attached. Okay, if no questions, we will move on then to economic development. I'm sorry.
Can jump back to this. So the comprehensive economic development strategy is what the communication is from the Planning Commission. So this is put together annually. So if we ever wanted to pursue federal funding like EDA funding or USDA, it usually needs to have the project needs to be in the SEDS. We can submit these. Townships, the city can submit projects to include in the list. So you can see what Sawyer County had submitted. I'm not sure how these were generated previously, but if there are projects out there, let me know and we can submit them to be included in the updated report.
Do they have extra money to spend or?
This is not that they don't. It's just that if you apply EDA through the Planning Commission is the most popular one. So if you want to get EDA funding, your project has to be in the SEDS report. It's fairly easy to get it included. You can get it, submit it, and they can update it. But some places throw everything in there. I'm not sure how these were generated previously, but it's always good to, if we see something coming, to get it included so that if we want to go after funding, it's in here. But there is no money that is attached to this. This is just like a summary document that the Planning Commission puts together to keep the projects listed somewhere.
Okay, good. Thanks, Andy. Okay, you're on.
Good morning, Monica Johnson. I am the board president for Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation. And I'm just going to go over a few things that we've completed over the last 9 months. We brought together 9 local businesses in the UW Small Business Development Center for one-on-one, no-cost business consulting with our area businesses. That was through the winter and the fall with Andy Donahue from the SBDC, who traveled up here and met with our local area businesses who wanted the one-on-one consulting. We have done 3 of 5 of our Sawyer County social events where we have brought in folks from the Planning Commission and the Rural Development Center of WEDC to put on some learning events after hours with our local business owners that have been well attended. We've also worked with the Hayward Community School District on developing before and after school programming that looks like it is starting up this fall. We've also worked with the school district on expanding paid internship and work experience programs for this next school year. And our workforce committee is working closely with the school district to facilitate the growth in that. We've also recently facilitated a strategic planning exercise for the downtown bid. Let's see, we connected and wrote letters of support for local businesses seeking the Main Street bounce back programs, and the numbers for those for Sawyer County were actually 44 grants given to Sawyer County businesses. Let's see, we also coordinated placemaking events with community stakeholders, both LCO and winter communities this year. We have provided letters of support to include the broadband middle mile grant with LCO, LCO's Workforce Innovation Grant, and also Boys and Girls Club Workforce Pathways Grant, just to name a few. I think one of the big ones that we did assist the city of Hayward in was the WEDC's Vibrant Spaces Grant submission that was awarded to Sawyer County. And that was over $48,000 for restoration of existing infrastructure of the public restrooms, lighting, and some other things as well. Let's see, what else do I have for you? Oh, then the probably one of the biggest things that will get done this year is, as Agrita mentioned, we are working on updating the housing study. That study we did in 2018 was outdated once COVID hit. We noticed that there was a lot more influx of people and houses being off the market. So we look forward to getting that draft sometime in mid-September, and hopefully to have something finalized by the end of the year. That's it for me.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're library times. Who wants to go first?
All right, Donna Nucky from the Winter Public Library. I submitted my report, but I just wanted to stress that we do have activities. Our summer is coming to an end, but now we're in the planning for fall programming. So we have some exciting new opportunities for our communities in the winter area to participate in, and we're excited. Strong Bodies, we do have Strong Bodies and facilitate that through the library. So UW Extension provides the activity, and we have a group of seniors that come into the library and use the library as their exercise facility to participate in Strong Bodies program. We're excited that that's returning in September. We have trustee trainings. So of course, our libraries all have boards. I have an 11-member board. And so we encourage our trustees to attend trainings that are provided through the state and with our library systems funding. And that will be August 21st through the 25th. And our fundraisers is huge in our area. And of course, you know, we have that Northern Regional Planning Commission loan that we're trying to pay off. We had so far successful fundraising this summer. We have one more fundraiser September 2nd coming up, which is the duck race, floating ducks down the Chippewa River. Our summer programming ends for youth next week, which is kind of sad, but again, we have opportunities for youth to get involved in programming at the library and supporting the needs of our communities. We have a strong partnership with our after-school program, so we help facilitate some of the activities that go on at the after-school program, but on site at the library, so they get to walk the block north to the library from the school and visit the library, but then participate in activities. And our budget we submitted, we did not ask for an increase in funding from the county. However, our budget did increase, but we have natural attrition with a retirement of a staff member. And then I did ask for a salary freeze on my wages so that, and with additional fundraising, and we have some grant opportunities coming up, I think that we'll be able to, with all of that, support our budget for next year, even though we have an increase, but we're thankful for, you know, if you could fund us the same as you did last year.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
How about your garden? How is that doing?
Oh yeah, well, our garden is blooming well. So we'll be harvesting that probably about the end of August. We try to do it when school is in session and winter school district starts, I believe in 2 weeks.
And then with the produce, what do you?
Yep, so with the produce, what we do is, first we do a taste testing with the grades, 4th and 5th grades that help planted the garden. And then we do usually give whatever produce we don't use to the community, or some years we've made stew out of it and they could come to the library and have a taste testing of our stew or whatever. So I don't know what the plan is right now with their vegetables in there, but we give it back to the community either by cooking them a meal or just giving them the produce to use.
Thanks, Donna. All right, any questions, anybody? Okay, thank you
All right,
much.
thank you.
Molly, you're on.
Okay, I'm just right along with Donna. It's the end of summer reading, but in place of that, we are showing children's movies every Thursday. And after the movies, we'll have a craft so they can get their yayas out after sitting still for so long. One thing I'm really pleased about is that Kimberly Kaler, the new president of Rotary, contacted me. She belongs to the Friends of the Library, and in her position teaching the LCOU capstone business class, they are making the library their project this year. And they propose to do a marketing plan, a survey to ascertain what types of programs the adults want. So we're doing really well with children and teens right now, and we're just trying to get a feel for the changing needs of people who are moving to the area. So we'll be having Zoom meetings with them. I guess I actually don't need to go out to the college, but it's pretty exciting. It gives students a chance to do hands-on learning, and it could really help us. Let's see. I'm still waiting to hear from Ashlyn regarding the literacy program that Lori mentioned. And we have a meeting I wanted to point out to you. Sawyer County Record came to the library a couple of years ago, had a great community conversation, and they're going to do that again on August 10th from 4 to 8 p.m. in our meeting room. And let's see, I mentioned a long time ago, it's such an odd name, the NICE committee meeting is a group of people from 2 different library systems, and we're working together to see if we can actually join forces to save money. So, and just we'll either combine the automation systems, or we will totally become one library system. And it's a trend across the state to combine and try to save some money. Oh, the Hayward Library Foundation is consulting with a professional to help raise funds faster so we can take some of the burden off of Sawyer County for budget requests. And they're doing really well. They didn't think they'd be able to, but they have donated $18,000 this year. So that's been great for us. And one of my employees who's been with me since 2005 retired. So now I'm officially I'm not the oldest person working there, but I'm pretty close. And HLF is holding a major donor reception and appreciation, and to also hopefully garner some more fundraising. So that's pretty much what's going on.
You don't have a program with the Aquatic Center this summer?
With who?
The Aquatic Center?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do? How's that?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it when you first asked me about it. Everybody who signs up or who signed up for summer reading was eligible to get, and I'm not sure what it was this year, if it's the same as last year, but it's something like a family membership for a limited amount of time. And it's designed to get people, of course, to join.
Sure.
But I mean, what a gift. You
Yeah.
can take your kids up there swimming for free, you know. So yeah, they did work with us this year for summer reading.
Good. Okay, thanks, Molly.
Mhm.
Any questions? Okay, thank you much. Okay, motorized trail report. Good morning.
Good morning. I feel like I'm in court or something here. This is a odd thing. Anyhow, it's been a very busy summer. I'm sorry I haven't been here for the last two meetings, but just extremely busy, incredibly busy. We have a planning meeting for our Ride Safe event we are putting on at the high school, which will be happening on September 14th, a Thursday. Our goal is to teach all the youth how to be safe around motorized vehicles, as well as stress the importance of helmet safety and gear that they should be wearing. This is the first time we're doing it, and we plan to do it every year if it's successful. We'll learn from this first time and see what we need to tweak for next year's. There's a lot of kids we're trying to reach, and it's a struggle. At the end of July, we had our NORTAC meeting, our quarterly NORTAC meeting. I was very excited about this meeting because we, for the past year, have been working on a comprehensive user survey for motorized sports for the 10 counties that are part of our cooperative agreement in the Northwest region of the state. And we should be ready to launch that this fall. We're going to work on the final testing of it probably by our next meeting in October. And therefore, we'll be able to start collecting all the data that we need to put together a comprehensive economic impact survey or a report on motorized sports. Also, through the NORTAC meeting, I learned that Bayfield County is in the process of trying to open up all their roads. Soon, Sawyer County and Washburn County will be probably the only two counties within that NORTAC group that aren't fully open to ATV use. So it's a concern of ours. Even Chippewa County, who had one of the most stringent route requirements, recently significantly relaxed those requirements so that more routes can be opened. We were surprised by that. Let's see here. Discover Wisconsin is coming this week to film or highlight the Nelson Lake area as well as some other areas within Sawyer County. I was only involved in the Nelson Lake area. I was asked to do the ATV segment, but I am, again, incredibly busy with work, so I had to ask our trail boss, Tim Davison, to take over that segment. He'll do great with it. So that should launch sometime mid-October, and we're excited to see how they promote those Nelson Lake area businesses and ATVing. Our Alliance crews have been very busy. We've been working in the Sealy Hills, fixing up storm damage from that recent flooding that we had. A lot of washouts, some pretty dangerous ones we encountered, so those are taken care of. We've been chainsawing some of the trees and making sure the trails are clear. And then lastly, I just want you, I'm not sure if you realize how much work our Alliance does to keep the snowmobile trail system intact. Over years, land gets bought and sold. Some of our trail systems go over private land. And when private land is sold, people have different, ideas for its use. They may not want a snowmobile trail on it, which requires us to reroute. And we are encountering quite a bit of that for this upcoming season. It can significantly affect the snowmobile season up here if we don't find connecting routes. And we're a little nervous about that because once you're traveling over private property, you're at the mercy of the landowner. So I just want you to be aware of that. We're working very hard. We put in countless hours contacting people, going over possibilities for reroutes, but it's a struggle and it's getting harder every year to maintain.
Who does that?
Pardon me?
Who makes those contacts? One person or
myself, people on my committee, on my government communications committee through the Alliance.
Okay.
So I have 6 people on our committee, and we're all volunteers, and we probably put more time into that committee than we do our paying jobs.
Well, do you get a report when lands are sold? How do you know that it's been sold?
Well, I get a call. I get a call from somebody, hey, I just bought this land, and I see there's a snowmobile trail on it, and we're planning to build, or we're planning to do this or that and the other thing, and they have every right to. They own the land,
Yeah.
but it requires a reroute, and they're not always successful. So we have two of them going on right now. That one is a major trail along Highway 77 further out. And if we can't come up with a reroute, let me back up, our only possible reroute for that one is to go through some more private property and then through the federal forest to connect to Trail 5 in the federal forest. But that process can take several years because they do studies and the scope of their studies just is very, very intensive, and it takes them a long time to approve a new trail going through the forest system. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. We have really no alternatives with that trail, and it's a major trail. So I don't know.
The old railroad right away going up to Sealy. How do you navigate that? Where do they go?
We have currently a reroute. It's Trail 13 that just north of Northern Lights Road, I believe, that goes up into the Sealy Hills. And then they can go, it's a roundabout reroute. We have never been successful getting that reopened for snowmobiling up north of that on that railroad grade.
Yeah.
And currently we are too busy and don't have the resources to pick that option back up. We would love to at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen now.
That's too bad. How about the trails through the reservation? Are they?
We continue to work with LCO on that. I've got a good working relationship with Brian Bissonette. Trail 30 was just recently rerouted to accommodate the building that's going on just south of the casino in that field. We may end up rerouting that again because it's that trail creates a lot of dust and it blows. It currently runs right along the paved biking walking path. It creates a lot of dust.
Yeah.
And our options for dust removal, which is something we discussed at the NORTAC meeting as well, are very limited. So we may end up rerouting that. The rest of the trails, we are still talking about rehabbing Trail 777, which was historically the very challenging trail that we had to work a reroute on Highway N to accommodate. That still isn't open, but Brian and I have discussed it. I talked to Jason Weaver the other day and some other people within LCO. Our plan is to just get together this fall after this busy season is over and perhaps discuss some funding opportunities for that to help things along. I'm not sure where that'll end up, but.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, on the, you mentioned the ATV trails, Washburn and Sawyer being the laggards and opening up. What is behind that? Why is Washburn, well, not Wash, you wouldn't know about Washburn, I guess, but why is Sawyer lagging?
We have a few townships still that resist opening roads to ATVs, despite our all the data that we bring to them.
So is this, okay, that's, I think we've talked about that. And then on the snowmobiles, that's private property, those are private, is LCO, how are they on snowmobile trails?
We have an extensive snowmobile trail system through LCO that hasn't changed. So I don't really see that changing. It
So
doesn't
their
affect.
their issue is more ATV than snowmobile.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Okay. Andy?
Just maybe to your first question about the other counties going more open. So with my colleagues, we've had plenty of conversations about ATVs, and I think what Surrey County has some townships lagging and maybe a little bit further behind in our evolution of the ATV ordinance. But talking to those other counties that are opening, some evolved to that point where they just kept on opening more and more roads to the point where they're open. And others, it seems that they just jumped to opening them all up. Like Barron County went to all open except for one stretch of SS just because of the volume of traffic. But they, just made the comment that, because the opening roads just eventually became pointless because there's such demand to open the roads. And they weren't seeing a lot of conflict either in the ones they had
Their
open.
townships aren't as.
Right. Yep. And I should say some of the counties, other counties don't have, didn't involve the township when they opened the county roads to start with.
Do we need to involve the other townships?
We don't have to, no.
That's not a question. So on the townships that are against this, this I guess would be your opinion. Are they working the will of the people, or is it the boards that maybe? Because my sense is that sometimes that the board is different than maybe what we perceive the township residents wanting.
It's my observation that a lot of the decisions that our group has encountered are more of a personal decision versus what their constituents want or what the majority of constituents want. And that's where I'd like to leave it without getting into details.
Well, I guess a question I would have, Andy, and I guess one option would be to overturn those boards, which is upon the residents to do. But I mean, if indeed that's the case, that doesn't seem to be right. I mean, what responsibility do we have as the county to, if indeed that's right, I guess we'd have to prove that's right or not, but.
I can't imagine the merchants in these townships don't just scream. And they don't have access.
I hear from a lot of angry business people who are turning down calls every day for people that want lodging for their ATV riders, and they would like lodging, and they're turned down right and left. I have a whole list of them if you'd like to see.
Yeah, the townships resent a force from outside the township. And they don't look
Right.
kindly on that, so.
You know, but if it's a half a dozen people versus the whole county or the town residents themselves, it doesn't seem to be right.
Yeah, I know why Kathy's picking her words carefully in her comments. I don't know the history here in this county with the ATV ordinance, but it is by choice that the county has allowed the townships to have a vote on the county roads. And I'm only speaking about the county roads. Townships obviously have their control over their own town roads, but that is not a requirement. It's probably more of a good neighbor or political, work, intergovernmental cooperation that you allow the townships to do that. And I mean, I had a discussion with the board member last week about whether we wanted to do that. And I would say there would be a little bit of an issue. Maybe I'm going too far today, but we know we have these discussions with LCO as well about their jurisdiction within and we probably are not going to get away from that discussion. So you would have, potentially setting up where we have LCO having their say. And if we decide not to have the towns have their say, there would be a little inequity there potentially, but that's more of a policy decision, to be honest with you.
Okay, good. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's see, Telemark or the Brookie report, basically they just completed the lumberjack event, huge success. Saturday was a full crowd. They turned away a huge number at the gate. There's just no room in the inn. And their next event is the Brookie Trail Run in September. Okay, let's go on then to the LSO broadband update, Andy.
Sent you a link if I email. I can't. Okay. You can pull it up. I did email it out to the committee, so just I don't have an update on the broadband map. We have not. We've only got two of the companies that have given us current information. The broadband survey that was out. I was just going to pull that up so you can see I emailed out the link to the committee if you wanted to look at it. We had a pretty good response relative to the rest of the state. I think we have over 200 surveys returned. I think the link must have got shared someplace in the last couple of weeks because it was up. I think we're one of the top 10 counties with response rate. So that's good that there's information there. You can follow the link, you can pull up the county and you can click on the survey responses and you can see the upload download speeds. I think there was a couple areas in the county which there were quite a few surveys from, which obviously don't have the best speeds. That's going to be around certain parts of the triple flowage. And then other than that, it was kind of random. That information will be fed into the process the state's going to use to distribute the $1 billion they're getting from the federal government for the BEAD funding. That's supposed to start happening towards the end of this year. We'll find out how we're going to distribute that. It'll be what we've heard, it's going to be a similar process to what was done for the other federal funds that the PSCs.
If we fast forward this for 5 years, where do we think we'll end up? Will we eventually have full coverage in the county or not, or what?
My best guess is we're gonna have pretty good coverage, but you're gonna have those isolated areas where there just isn't as good a ROI.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough for companies to justify going into. There are counties still looking at, you want fiber to the premise, but places that is not feasible to get fiber.
Yeah.
To have some type of wireless access or tower based to get out to those more rural areas, which the geography and the terrain in northern Wisconsin is not great for that. But there are some doing that. And they're combining that with loops, fiber loops that would also serve cell towers to improve cell service.
Good. Okay. Questions, anybody? Okay,
Just gotta pull up, this is what it looks like. Pull up that link, you can zoom in on Sawyer County and pull up some of those survey responses.
Okay, good. Thanks, Andy. The next item was the LCO update with Brian and Chris, but they aren't here. So you don't know anything about the clinic out there, how that's going, Andy?
Just if they drove down, that's all I know.
Yeah. Well, we'll put it on the agenda for next month. Hopefully he'll be here. The Historical Society, anybody here? Oh, yeah.
Losing my suspenders here, which would be disastrous.
Then too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had a busy year so far. Started out with working with LCO. This is their 100th anniversary of the flooding and the flowage, and we were getting them any information we had, plus 15 or 20 oral interviews that we have on CDs from the 70s with people like Jim Mustache, Katie Dennis, and a bunch of tribal members. We copied all those for them. And then we just recently finished parking cars for the Lumberjack show. And that's pretty busy. And we're right across from the entrance. We only charge $3 for people to park. And then for that $3, they can come and go for the same price. They can use the restrooms. Anybody can tour the museum. We have had two couples that we set up in the garage. They were playing cards for 2 hours to kill time. So, and that was pretty successful. Although we did lose $50 or $60 that somebody stole out of the donation jar. And there was a couple of kids. But that was successful. We've been working on a number of things. Before the Lumberjack show even started, we had to spend time killing the hornet's nest under the entrance ramp. We had a couple of those. We also have some interesting books for sale. The most interesting one, of course, was our last one we got called Charlie. And it tells how Al Capone's hideout never belonged to Al Capone. Like a lot of people thought, belonged to a man named Fred Getz. He built it. But he did work for Capone. And he hired a man named Charlie Allison to be the caretaker. He only built the main lodge. Charlie oversaw the building of the rest of it. Some other things he did, like his daughter and son-in-law built the Keystone Bar in Coudray. If you've ever been through there, you see that field and stone building that's burned out. It's just a shell. That was theirs. But when this Fred was killed, Then the next person to buy it was a man called Edward O'Hare. He was a St. Louis lawyer, but he was divorced from his family. They stayed in St. Louis. He came to Chicago to be Capone's lawyer. He's also the one who was responsible for Capone going to prison for tax evasion, and even told the government that Capone had fixed the jury, so they changed that, or he might have gotten off. A week before Capone got out of prison, this Edward O'Hare, he was shot and killed, 4 shotgun blasts. But the most interesting connection to it is that his son was also Edward O'Hare, Edward Butch O'Hare. You probably heard of the airport that's named after him. O'Hare Field in Chicago, because his son during World War II was the Navy's first ace, the Navy's first Medal of Honor winner, and was killed during the war. So, and we've been doing a lot of people coming in doing research. I don't know if ever any of you remember, there used to be a Dunster's department store or something like that on Main Street. 2 of the Dunster girls have been in doing research. Someone else has been in doing research on the Indian School and Hospital. So we're keeping busy.
When are you going to have your logs and your sled in there?
Our log sled, that's what we're hauling. You know, Guy Houston has it, and he's been busy. We thought we'd have it in spring. Now we're hoping before winter. I mean, it's all there. We just have to make a place to set it. You know, get the logs on it. But I guess that's up to Guy. You know, his wife he's been busy. His wife bought the Coop's restaurant, and they've been busy with that. And so I guess summers are too short.
How about your economics? How are you making enough money there to survive? And
Well, you know, our fundraiser we brought in $561 for parking, but the fundraiser that was high school kid did for us last year brought in just over $26,000.
Oh.
So we have no paid personnel. It's just to keep the building open. So yeah, we're doing fairly well financially. I think we have $50,000 or so in the bank.
okay. You should put that kid on the board.
So,
Fundraiser.
but it's going well. We have a hardworking board.
Yeah. Good.
So,
All right. Thank you for your report. Just keep us
Okay.
informed what's going on.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Future agenda items. Andy, how about the nursery? You want to cover that? Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So Representative Edming's office pulled together a tour of the nursery, Hayward Nursery, last week. So the DNR staff was there to give us a discussion on what they're doing. All of our area legislators attended. We had reached out to our legislators to help us facilitate a discussion because the appearance was that the nursery, everybody knew that it stopped being a nursery back in 2014. It didn't look like much was going on. But what we found out from the DNR is that it's been since 2018 or 19 in the process of a transition from a nursery to seed production. So there are parcels there that are planted with various species that they will be harvesting and extracting seeds from. Right now, I can't remember how many, maybe they have 20 nurseries around the state that they pull seeds and move to other nurseries for coming up with hybrids. They're working on consolidating all of those to this facility over the next, I think, probably 5-6 years. They said it would take for them to ramp it up till they're fully utilizing the entire property. So there is a plan, there is funding in the state budget to support it. And I guess that's the short summary of what we heard last week.
Andy, is this the same? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
is this the plot of land on 63? So they are using that.
Yep.
So they want to keep that.
Yes.
And there's is there land swaps that, I mean, is it something important about that land that they covet that land more than what it could be used for, in this case, housing?
Yes, the that was brought up, and the reason that they would want to stay there, or it's maybe cost prohibitive, is that that parcel is fully irrigated. All the pipes are in the ground. They have a water source. They pull water out of the Namakagon to irrigate the entire property.
And if that was not, if they didn't have that, they would be significantly hurt as a federal government in their plant seeding.
I don't know if I could speak to that. But it is part of it is within their plans, according to what they presented to us.
Right.
They do have 2 other nursery properties that are still doing seedling production. This will be their sole seed production for the entire state.
Yeah, and I can appreciate what they're doing. I just didn't, it's that constant balance between, I guess, what their needs are and our needs are as a housing, affordable housing.
Yeah,
community.
I mean, you go in there and what we saw, it's already lotted off into little neighborhoods and little roads. You could see how
Yeah.
it would make a really nice housing development.
But ultimately, that's still, as much as they want it, I mean, I guess we would talk with Edming, Tom Chick, or even Congressman to figure that out. Okay.
Yep. And I don't know, I didn't ask their opinions when we left, but it seemed like as the hour or so we were there, the question shifted away from, okay, doesn't look like you're doing anything. Okay, you are doing something. What does this mean? How does this fit within the DNR's operation? What is the cost? They also will be buying seeds from the public. You can gather up pine cones and take them, and this will be the location where the public can sell their seed production to the DNR. I think they said they have a $300,000 budget for purchase of seeds. There is, I would say, limited, and with all the nurseries, actually, there's not a ton of job creation. There's probably 3 or 4 people that will be running this operation. There is a private business on the property that the DNR runs to that's a partner of theirs. So there is something going on there. It's just maybe not as robust or as well known as what the nursery was back in its heyday.
I guess I'm always asking opinion questions. I don't know if people like to give them. So what was the appetite of the legislators? I mean, they're aware of the possible housing attraction there.
Yep.
So they walked away. DNR's cool. We don't have to, or you don't know.
My gut tells me they heard enough to know that, or think that it wasn't a viable, like they weren't gonna, and I guess that's probably dangerous for me to read their minds. But,
No, I mean, I agree. So,
but that's
less work for them. Okay. Thanks.
You wanna?
You hope to have 2 to 3 employees.
You don't want to touch it, do you?
No, that's what, just try to keep the forest industry alive also.
Well, I just say that, I mean, because we hear housing. This seemed like as much as you love seeds, this seemed like a picture perfect area to solve some of our housing. But obviously the DNR has come in and have a compelling case to say it's not as important to housing. So,
Yeah, I think when you look at the replacement cost to relocate it, it did seem like that would, I mean, when you're out there, you can see the size of the irrigation system they have and how the property is laid out. It would be significant to relocate that or replace it somewhere else. Now, maybe the legislators will go back and look into the budget and verify that this plan's been in place for quite a few years, and that how important it is. I mean, they asked some really good questions, like why are we as a state in the seed production business, or
right.
seedling, and where do the seeds go? Where do the seedlings go? So I mean, the legislators, I thought, did a good job of kind of vetting out all the information they could.
Well, the DNR is not going to want to give that up easy. So even if it didn't make sense for them to have it, they would fight like heck
Absolutely.
to keep it.
Yep.
So I think we have to decide whether we want to fight like heck to change that, if indeed there's a better use of that land. So,
yep. And I mean, I just offer up because Monica's here. I mean, this is housing is a real issue. And I know the EDC has been working with Impact 7 in Northwood to cite a project here, which has not been easy to find a parcel to do that with. And then this is again, comment opinion type of stuff, but as City of Hayward, Sawyer County, and we don't, we're not we don't have our fingers in the private sector as much as some counties do in economic development. And that's probably a question that should be discussed more, as if there should be something like, should the city or the county have, as other communities do, have some land to make available and to kind of, if we want housing to target a certain income segment of our community, can we help facilitate that somehow by getting more involved?
Right. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, anything else you want to add on your meeting agenda, or anything that we should talk about, a future agenda we want to discuss? Anybody in the audience have anything else to say? Not, thank you all for coming. We'll be adjourned. Yep.
Well, the covers are still open.